Hi, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing all the things that I hate in horror books. Um, Quick, before we get into the video, I just want to show my little Easter outfit because I'm quite proud of it. Ta-da! I can't tell if you can see the tights, but we got tights, we got socks. Yeah. Alright. So we'll just hop right into it now that we got the intro done and I showed you off my outfit. Yeah, sure. Showed you my outfit. We'll just hop right into this. Sorry if you can hear the fan going. It is far too hot in this house for it to not be going. But let's just get into this. So we'll start with probably something that a lot of people hate, and that is men writing women. So the thing with men a lot of the times in the horror genre is that they tend to focus a lot on the men in the story, even if they are centering the story around women, supposedly, like the main character is a woman or like the main cast is women. The story is still going to be centered around a man. The man's going to be the focus of the story. This happens a lot. Even in movies, shows, whatever, it happens a lot. Just men don't understand how women work, aside from when they're with a man. And like, I can think a couple stories that do this. Stephen King has a tendency to do this a lot with his characters. The most egregious of this, I think, personally, is It. There's just a lot in that one female character that shows he doesn't understand how women work. Another one that I read quite recently that really set this as something for me was the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Because, yes, the central cast is all women, but oh my god, are they not obsessed with men? And that is their only personality trait, is their husbands. They don't even work. Like, they are at home, like housewives for their deadbeat, lazy-ass husbands. And, like, guys that treat them like dick. Like, it's just pointless. I don't know why it's like this. So that is one thing that comes from men writing women. And then another thing is just pure sexist. Like, just sexist remarks constantly. Like, I don't know why a man has to write a woman and tell us about their body, their breasts, how skinny they are, their butt. I don't care. That has nothing to do with this. This is a horror book. Why are you telling me about her physical appearance? That has nothing to do with this. And like, if it does have something to do with it, you could tell it to me without being perverted about it. Like, it usually has nothing to do with the story. And that is a big, big thing with these. It's just men, whenever they write women, have to include the size of their breasts. Or the, like, shape of their body for some weird reason. It's never made sense to me. Like, they don't do this with men that they write. They don't tell us about the penis size. Why not? Put that in the story if you're going to write about a girl's boob size. Anyways, moving on from that. Number 2, self-harm as a plot device. Or a character flaw. Self-harm doesn't need to be in horror or thriller or whatever books. It doesn't need to exist. But it thankfully, as time goes on, like, in today's age, we don't see self-harm in the horror genre as much. But it was very prevalent in the early 2000s. Like, pretty much every book you read, the main character was suffering from some sort of self-harm. And it didn't need to be there. It was just, I think, used as a narrative device of showing that maybe the main character wasn't, I don't know, like, you know the whole trope of, like, an untrustworthy narrator or whatever it is? I think that was their way of trying to do that. But it doesn't work. That's not right. And it's never ever addressed that they're doing self-harm. It's never dealt with. It's never, like, it's never there for anything other than shock value or to make us not trust the main character for some reason. It's not good. It's never good, and it shouldn't be there, and I don't like it. Number 3. Now, this one is probably the worst in my opinion, and this one is probably, like, the one that if I know it's happening, I will put down a book. If I know it's going to happen in a movie, I won't watch that movie. Or if I don't know what's happening and I read a whole book and that turns out to be the plot twist, I will give it 1 star. And that is mental illness or disability being the plot twist. I am so sick and tired of people treating mental illness like it's terrifying. Like it is something to be afraid of. Like, people with BPD are usually targeted in the horror community. People with schizophrenia, split personalities, obviously by the movie Split. There's other movies that do this a lot as well, like The Visit, where it was 2 people who broke out of an asylum. That was the whole plot twist, was it was 2 elderly people who broke out of an asylum. Or all of those movies where it's set in an asylum, or it's all this crap. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that. Mental illness is not a subject to be talked lightly about, or made to look as the villain. Because people with mental illness are just people with mental illness. They are not villains, they are not evil, they are not inherently bad people. And I'm tired of it in media that everyone with a mental illness is the villain. Like, it's so ridiculous. Or the untrustworthy narrator thing, with the plot twist being, oh, the main character was actually mentally ill and they're the ones that was doing all the bad stuff. Like, oh, it was actually their personalities. Oh, it was all in their head. It was all a dream. Oh, they're actually in a hospital. I'm done with that bullshit. If you're not creative enough to come up with an actual reason, don't write. Period. Just don't write the book. Don't write the movie. Don't write the script. Don't do whatever you're doing. Stop. I'm done with it. And also, like, the whole side character or whatever having a disability, I'm sick of that too. Like, there are multiple movies that have this. Like, one that I watched recently was Cube. There is a character who is supposedly autistic in it, and he is meant to be like a bumbling idiot the whole freaking movie. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, he's actually really important to the plot. But that doesn't make up for the fact that you made him a bumbling idiot the entire time and then blamed it on autism. Why are you writing a character like that? That's not what people with autism are like. And you're making him look like an idiot. He's not an idiot. People with autism are not idiots. We don't need to be comedic relief. We don't need to be a plot twist. We don't need to be any of that. People with a mental illness and disabilities just need to be. Period. Like, leave us alone. Why are you writing us into your media if you don't know anyone with this disability or with this mental illness? Why are you writing about it? Why is it a plot in your story? Period. Like, remove it. Get rid of that character. They don't need to be there. And if you want to have a little goof and gaff at people who are, I don't know, like, not smart, don't do that with disabilities, because that's not what they are. Disabilities are not people who are stupid. Like, there's movies that do it, and do it okay, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That is a family that had very bad education and is inbred. It's still not great, but it's better than being like, oh, they have this diagnosis, that's why they're like this. You see what I mean? Like, it's still not great, but at least you're not giving a mental illness or a disability a bad rep by making that character, who's inherently bad, stupid, all these horrible things, a real illness that is being associated with them. Like, it's just not words. moving on, because that one's going to be too much for me to handle, to another one that is way too much for me to handle. In this one, we're going to need all the trigger warnings. This one's about assault. There are a lot of horror books that use assault, physical, sexual, all of it, as plot devices. Physical assault, it's fine. You know, like, it's not fine, but in a horror genre, I could see why it's used and why it's a thing. That one, that's fine. Push it off to the side. I'm okay with it. But sexual assault doesn't need to be in a story. It doesn't need to be. And people use it as these big character plots, these big character points, turning points in the story when a character gets assaulted. It doesn't need to happen, and it never makes the story better. It never makes the characters deeper. It just makes me sick to my stomach. You don't need to write that. Your villain can be a villain without assaulting someone. Your hero can be a hero without going through an assault. It doesn't have to happen in order for the story to happen. Like, you don't have to get that from a villain to a heroine, or whatever it is, for the story to have a point. You don't need that to be a driving force for your main character. It just doesn't need to happen. And a lot of the times, it's not even main characters that have it done to them. It's their best friend side character. Or it is them, or whatever. It's just constantly happening to everyone for no goddamn reason. Why are we writing assaults? Why do we have to do this? This doesn't need to be a thing. And then, a lot of the times, if there are assaults in a book, they're not written properly at all. They are written extremely victim-blamey, or they are written very fetishized. And what I mean by that is, the victim usually in the stories ends up saying that it wasn't as bad as they thought it would be, or they secretly liked it, or they felt guilty for enjoying it. Shit like that is ridiculous, insane, and moronic. And I need it to be gone. I need it to be done. I need it to be unwritten from every story ever. Ugh. It drives me insane when people write this. And it's usually men. So add that to the men writing women bullshit. It doesn't need to be in a horror book to make it horrifying. It just makes it... It just takes you out of the story, because it doesn't need to be there. And for someone who's been through that kind of stuff, I can tell you, it doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make you have these grand moments of realization that I am strong. No, it doesn't. It makes you realize the world's a shitty fucking place and you don't want to be in it. That's all it does. That's simply all it does. It makes a person weaker. It makes a person scared and untrusting. It doesn't make a person stronger or whatever the hell they're going for in their bullshit stories. So, moving forward from that to another thing that I absolutely hate, which is when they sexualize children in horror stories. This happens so often. Any possession story you've ever read is about a child being possessed by an overly sexual demon for some god-awful reason. And I think it all stems from The Exorcist, I think. It probably was happening prior to that, but The Exorcist is the first that I know of in written and also film media that shows a child in sexual experiences as horror. And children should not be sexualized in any manner at all, but it also shouldn't be put as a horrific scene, because whoever's writing that has something inherently wrong with them, that they are writing a child sexually, period. It doesn't matter if it's a demon or not. There's something wrong with you for writing that scene. It doesn't need to be there. Your kid can be terrifying without touching themselves or whatever they're going to be doing. Doesn't need to be there. Doesn't need to happen. There's a lot of other things that kids could do that is terrifying. That doesn't need to be in the story. Period. It doesn't have to be there. Like, I don't know why people think it should be there. I don't know why the possession genre is the one that does it the most. I don't know who allowed it, and I don't know why we keep doing it in 2023, why this is still a thing. But it needs to stop. It needs to be gone. It should have been gone from the beginning. It shouldn't have happened, period. Anyways, moving on. Main character plot armor. So this one, I'm going to use the Scream franchise to kind of explain this. Sid. Before the 5th chapter, all of the main characters were untouchable. We knew they were all coming back for the next movie. We knew everything was going to be fine. So when Ghostface would come after them, we'd just be like, okay, yeah, whatever. Whoa. Because we know they're not going to be deathly hurt. Like, they're not going to kill off Sidney Prescott. You get what I'm saying? They're not going to kill off these main characters. So why are we worried? Like, after the first movie, when they all came back for the second one, we were like, oh, okay. And then they all came back for the third one, it was like, oh, okay. You know, like, it's just kind of like, we know what's going to happen. They're not going to kill off the main character. And it happens in books as well. Like, the stakes aren't as high as people want them to be, because we know the main character has plot armor. Like, we know, and your main friend group, all of them are going to survive because people are too weak to write people dying in the main cast, which is ridiculous, because I want there to be high stakes in a horror book. If people are dying left, right, and center, but it's not your random group of friends, unrealistic. Especially when you're going out after a killer. Makes zero sense. You're gonna lose somebody. There's gonna be some casualties, at least. And spoilers, spoiler for the new Scream movie. So, I'll leave like a little thingy thing, probably like up in the corner or something, of when to skip to if you don't want the spoiler. In Scream, the new one, there is a character that gets stabbed multiple times on the bus. Or train, I forget what it is, if it's a train or a bus or whatever. Multiple times, stabbed in the chest. And then just gets up and keeps running. And she's perfectly fine throughout the whole story. Like, nothing else happens to her. And she's there to fight Ghostface in the end. Makes zero sense. Spoilers are done. But, like, it just happens constantly. There's constant times where the main character is up against the killer, and you're just reading it, or you're seeing it, and you're like, well, nothing's gonna happen. Because the book's not over. The movie's not over. So, obviously, the killer can't die. Main character's not gonna die because they're the main character. Boring. Change it up. Throw some plot twists where the main character actually dies and then someone else comes in at the end. That'd be cool. I haven't read it. And then lastly, vibes over plot. This might get me in trouble. I love gothic horror, but a lot of them decide to choose vibes over horror quite a lot of the time. Mexican Gothic is the biggest culprit of this. And this is where people are going to come for my throat. Mexican Gothic was boring. The horror was poor. The vibes were great, sure. It was, creepy. But that's all it was. It was creepy. It wasn't horrific. It's not a horror. There was nothing horrific in it. It was very slow, very boring. The house, had creepy vibes, but that's it. Plot, gone. Vibes, there. This happens so much in horror books. Specifically, horror movies, it's a little different. Like, Crimson Peak is gorgeous. And that one, I think, is kind of vibes over horror. But for some reason, that works in the movie format, because you could get more... I don't know, it just works better in movies and shows and stuff. And shows actually, no, give me some horror. That's the problem with a lot of American Horror Story seasons, is they go too much into their aesthetic and then they forget that they're a horror show. Also, just really shit writing. But that's a different story. But, like, Mexican Gothic had so much build up to no payoff. Great creepy house. Great character. Well, actually, no, I hated the characters. But for reasons that were meant to hate them. But then it never had any payoff. And this happens a lot in specifically Gothic horrors, which sucks because I love the vibe of Gothic horror. I just want there to be something that happens. But there never is. There's nothing that happens in these kind of books. The vibe is just way more important. There's no scares. There's no nothing. There's no stakes. It's just creepy house does creepy house things. Or creepy whatever it is. Creepy boat. Creepy lake. Creepy town. Creepy. Just creepy. Period. Creepy. Like, it's ridiculous. Let me know down in the comments. I don't know why I can't talk today. Probably because I am literally choking myself with this choker. That is why my face is a completely different color. It is, like, my first time wearing this, so it's, like, insanely tight. Anyways. But leave it down in the comments what you hate in horror books, and we'll probably have a little chitty chat about it, because there's a lot of things that I hate, and probably too much for a video. I'll see you guys next time. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.